Hey, ladies, welcome or welcome back. Let's get right into it. Thanks again for tuning in to Work It Lady, where the goal is to be the best version of yourself. And if you happen to be a mom, be the best mom ever and maintain your sanity while you do it. All right, so let's talk about some more of these kind of big things that have been happening lately. Open AI shutting down Sora. So OpenAI has made the decision to shut down Sora. Sora is its AI video generation platform. And what is surprising is that this tool is really kind of like involved in a lot of other AI things. It was first seen as a breakthrough in generative AI, and it allows users to produce short cinematic style clips that mimic real life footage. However, this platform has quickly raised concerns about deepfakes, misinformation, and copyright violations, especially as users begin creating real people and branded content without permission. So I'm hoping that we're going to see less and less of like fake, celebrity videos and, public figure videos, because that to me is something that is very, very, very misleading. You kind of have to be looking really close to tell that it is an AI when it is an image of a person that we are used to seeing. So I think this is going to be really, really, really a good thing. Now, behind the scenes, what the bigger issue is it also came down to sustainability. Video generation is extremely expensive, requiring advanced computing power and infrastructure, and Sora struggled to generate enough revenue to offset those costs. So it ain't really because they care, it's because they're not making money off of it, really. So, combined with declining engagement and mounting ethical concerns, OpenAI ultimately chose to shut down the platform and focus more on scalable, controlled AI tools, showing that viral success doesn't always equal long-term viability. And I'm so happy to hear that. Like, we don't need people ripping off other people's image and personage and making videos of things that they didn't say. Like, that's just so much drama and unnecessary ickiness for no reason. So, some other facts on Sora. This is crazy. So, 15 million per day estimated operating costs for Sora. Okay? And with all that, only about 2.1 million in revenue is generated. User uploads dropped roughly about 66% after the launch hype. So, to my knowledge, I think Sora was a publicly traded company. Don't quote me on that. But again, it sounds like it just was not working out financially, and that with the issue with copyright and deep fakes and all of that, they decided they just go ahead and scrap it. So keep an eye on your timelines, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all these places, and see if you see less of those. I feel like I am. Tell me what you think in the comments on this video, wherever you're watching, or the audio, and let me know what you think. But yeah, I feel like I'm seeing less of that stuff. I'm seeing more like just completely fake AIs of like, cartoons or some kind of mythical place. And I just hate the way it looks. Like, it just looks like a place that's like deep and dark and weird. And so I hate that kind of AI content. I think AI is great. Things like Chat GPT, where you could just, do some little research. Like, it basically is. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's important. Welcome to Work It Lady podcast, where it's time to put in the work regarding educating yourself on all areas of your health and well-being. At Work It Lady podcast, we are dedicated to empowering women to take control of their health and mental well-being. Our mission is to provide women with the knowledge, inspiration, and tools needed to transform their lives, from improving nutrition and fitness, navigating womanhood, and if you're a mom, excelling at motherhood. Step Step 1, like this episode. Step 2, share it with someone you love, and even the haters, they need help too. Step 3, subscribe on podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, join our mailing list to stay in the loop on classes and events. I am so happy you made it here, girl. Thank you. Yeah, so the only like AI I really like is Chat GPT because it's basically just like a really sophisticated web crawler that you can easily, crawl the web and get, a bunch of information kind of condensed down quickly. So it's great for that. A lot of the other stuff, I'm just like, even some of the AI generated pictures and stuff, yes, they make things go quickly and they're helpful and you don't have to pay to have a whole photo shoot or whatever, but it does look fake. Like there is no way to really completely, you know, recreate what a real person looks like in a picture, and it all just starts to look like really fake. And then I have to ask, like, oh, is this real? Is it fake? And I don't know. It's just like a huge waste of time to me and a huge drain of resources. I'm sure this, will cause the need for, more digital storage and things like that, places to keep servers and all that. So it's just like, why bother? Sometimes you need to keep things simple in life, Sora. Anyway, moving on. Let's now talk about, so this is kind of techie. Like our first 2 points are kind of techie. So let's talk about Meta and YouTube. Meta and YouTube, as you probably know already, but if you haven't, I'll catch you up to speed. They have been found liable in a social media addiction trial. So this has been a landmark case. U.S. jury found Meta and YouTube liable for contributing to social media addiction and harming a young user's mental health. The lawsuit focused on how platform design, like autoplay, endless scrolling, and algorithm driven content, can keep users engaged for long periods of time, especially children. The plaintiff began using these platforms at a very young age and later developed mental health issues, including anxiety and depression, which were linked to her prolonged exposure. And what makes this case so important is that it targets the design of the platform, not just the content that is posted on them. And so that's really what the issue is when a thing is really designed to tap into the portions of the brain that drive addiction and exploit those into you staying on a platform longer so that they are then able to give you more ads. That's really what it boils down to. So this might open the door for more lawsuits against tech companies, similar to what we've seen historically with like big tobacco. Now that I feel like is kind of a bit of a different comparison though, because there is also a physical component with the addiction to tobacco, but a mental health addiction definitely is an issue with these platforms. So the goal is, the hope is that companies will start to redesign their platforms so that they are a little less addictive, especially for younger users. But here's the thing that I'm gonna always say with everything. At the end of the day, people can put out whatever they want. You don't have to engage and buy it. So for our kids, you guys know I'm a mother as well. Limit their use. Make them earn time to go on YouTube, go on their device. Don't just sit them in front of it all day, every day. They are not going to develop their brain capacity. They will get brain rot and they will become addicted to doom scrolling. Some kids even are delayed in their speech and, have anxiety and things like that, all because of the social media usage, the device usage, even some of the games that are meant to be good, like learning games, even like language games and things like that, they are made to keep you engaging. So you can't just say, oh, well, my kid doesn't have a TikTok, my kid doesn't have a YouTube. That's a big part of the problem, but you're still going to run into this on even some of the good platforms. You know what I mean? So it just, the parents, the ultimate responsibility is with the parents. I do think this is a step in the right direction. Forcing these big companies to do better is definitely going to help. But at the end of the day, if people are not limiting their kids' use. When do you introduce a tablet? Just because you have a 3 year old doesn't mean, hey, they're walking, let me get them a tablet. You could introduce a tablet at 15 or say, hey, get a tablet when you move out of my house or a computer. Now, that might be a little bit extreme, but we have these things in our home. We have computers, we have one tablet. Not all of the kids have earned their privilege to have the tablet. There are some milestones, some things that they have to hit, some uh, life skills that they have to develop in our house before they can have a tablet. They have to also keep up on their reading and a lot of other things. So, you don't have to just hand them a tablet. They would be completely oblivious to tablets. A lot of the games kids play, like Roblox and all this stuff, my kids are oblivious to it because I simply do not engage. I'm not buying it. I'm not giving it to you. I'm stopping it right there. So that's really what has to happen now. Here is what kind of have been a penalty for these companies thus far. So far, there has been some financial penalties for these companies, upwards of 6 million in damages. So that's a start. When people have to start shelling out dough because they are damaging the public, that will usually force them to do better. This could also set a precedent for future lawsuits as well. So, that is also something that these companies will consider. And then again, maybe changing some of these features like autoplay and the way the algorithms work. I can't remember what platform I was on the other day, but I was scrolling and all of a sudden it said, you've reached the end of your feed. And I was like, oh, now for the life of me, I can't remember what platform it was. But yeah, I thought that was kind of legit. But I have noticed, however, on YouTube, autoplay now, if you don't click on the next video, it just starts playing. I don't know if I accidentally enable something or if that just does it now on its own. But yeah. Anywho, moving along, let's get trendy a little bit. So, are you guys into these Trader Joe's mini tote bags? I am not into them just because it just isn't a thing for me. I don't know why. I'm not against it. I think some of them are cute, but they're just not anything I feel like I need to go out of my way to get. But let's talk about that. So Trader Joe's mini tote bags have become viral again. This is one of those viral products that people start talking about on TikTok, and before you know it, they are being resold all over TikTok, and people are going crazy and raiding Trader Joe's to get those bags. Now, truth be told, like, you could make your own Trader Joe's tote bag. Like, it's literally just like a burlap looking tote bag, and then it just has Trader Joe's on it. So for me, y'all know me, I'm economical and frugal. I do not like spending money on things that I could get the same result from a cheaper item. So I could skip over to Walmart, girl, and get me a bag for probably about $5 and leave these for where they're at. Okay. So it's a little interesting. I think some of it's kind of cute. I like Trader Joe's as a brand because they have so many like quality products, and they work with all these like unique food producers all around the world, and I do love what they offer to the public. So like I really like Trader Joe's. And even back when like I used to really drink wine, like they had those like $4 bottles of wine. That was really cool and all that. So yeah, very interesting though. So let's talk a little bit about the price. Now, if you get this at the store, it's $2.99 to $3, but most people are not getting that price. They're paying $100+ online. That's why I was telling you I'd rather skip over to Walmart and just get me a little burlap bag, or just don't engage in the trend. Just because something is a trend doesn't mean we have to do it, right? You don't have to do that. So there isn't like a single person that I could find that really grew this trend or like started the trend, but it did start on TikTok with multiple creators just kind of like posting their like Trader Joe's hauls, and it just got that viral momentum, and word spread, and here we are. So on to the next. Let's talk about something a little heavy again. The Philippines. I am really sorry for what's happening in the Philippines right now, due to this, Iranian conflict and all this stuff going on. So the Philippines has been warning that it has, 45 to 40 days, probably even less now, worth of fuel lasting. And my question was like, okay, we're all being affected by this. We are seeing the gas prices rise. We're all seeing that no matter what country you live in for the most part. But I wanted to know why the Philippines in particular is kind of, at in the spotlight on this. Like what's different about their situation. So what I learned was um Philippines imports nearly 100% of its oil. So that is the reason why the oil and the gas prices there are spiking. And this is again, they don't really have any way to, have their own reserve. They don't have any really domestic reserves. They import it all, and there's a lot of places like that. I think of Japan, South Korea, even India may be vulnerable. Definitely certain places in Africa. I think of some of these other remote islands as well, depending on, who owns them, because a lot of the islands are owned or governed by other places, like many in the Caribbean are, governed by the US. I think of like, Puerto Rico, and then some of the other ones like British Virgin Islands, is under Britain, so they may not feel the pinch of this as much as the Philippines. But I just, I'm really feeling bad about the situation there. Hopefully it can improve, but yeah, we might not be on these different continents, but our economies and all that are interconnected. So definitely, hoping things just kind of improve for the Philippines. We will see what happens. Okay. Last but not least, this was kind of a funny one. So, two-parent households are on the rise again. Now, this has been a talking point for a lot of comedians that I noticed that I follow. They're like, "Hey, two-parent households are on the rise again. I wonder why." It's probably just because things are so expensive. Now, there could be some truth to that, but basically, from what I found is over the decades, the percentage of children living in two parent households kind of declined in some years back. Like I would say, 30 years was kind of like where it was the all time low. And this was due to cultural changes, different economic pressures, and also just the attitudes in society, right? I think as we've gone through society, people were like more conservative and like, everybody just kind of got married and, had a two-parent household. But then, as things progressed and, women were able to support themselves, and then, hey, I don't have to put up with that. I don't have to take this. I could go elsewhere, which for a lot of women is a good thing if they're being abused. Well, now women have the ability to get out of abusive situations. But the two-edged sword of that is it did contribute to fewer two-parent households, right? So, experts are basically emphasizing that, the family structure, of course, doesn't always determine success. It matters, a couple of different factors: income, education, and emotional support. How much time can you spend with the child? That is really what can make, the key differences. So, some more facts on this. About 69% of U.S. children lived in two parent households in the year 2000. That was a steady decline from 2000 until, about, I'll say 2021, perhaps. I think the pandemic also forced people to just stay together because, hey, it's a pandemic out there. I don't like you, but I don't want you to, you know, be out in the COVIDness. So just sit down and be quiet. Be over there in the corner. You stay on your side. I'm going to stay on mine. So I think that probably also contributed it. But also, too, the overall trend, the peak level of this of single parent household was really around 2010 to 2012. it kind of started to plateau a little bit, and then the 2020s has shown a slight decline, but overall it's still historically higher for having more two-parent households. So hey, that's a step in the right direction. We're always usually hit with bad news that we forget sometimes there can be little improvements here or there. So we got to take that for what it is. So kudos, if people are out there working out their relationships and staying together, and staying together healthily, not just staying to stay, for financial or you don't have nowhere else to go, but like being in a happy, healthy, committed, loving relationships and having loving families that, can be productive and everyone's happy. That's a great thing. So, some other interesting facts. According to some research outlets, the U.S. does have the highest rate of single parent households in the world. Most single parent households, upwards of 80%, are led by mothers. And again, that is just because in the U.S., we have the means to separate. A lot of these other countries, they don't have the means to separate. They're in abusive relationships or in bad situations, but there literally is nowhere else to go, so the women stay. And that was our case too in the US before, we had all these industrial booms, and even more recently with the tech boom, where so many women are able to support themselves, and get out of bad situations if they're in one. So don't let those statistics make you think, oh, well, it's just because the US is garbage. No, a part of that is also because women here make more money than most other places in the world. So there is money to get out of bad relationships. So, very interesting, guys. So I would like to have your 2 cents down below. What do you think of the topics that we have covered here today? Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.